Doctor, I'm really worried about this surgery.
Don't worry. I've done these reconstructive surgeries so many times. There's nothing to worry about. They're absolutely routine.
Okay, if you say so.
What I'm going to be doing with this doll today is I'm going to be cutting his head open. I'm going to try and give him a bit of a cyborg sort of look. I'm going to be putting this brain that I've made out of polymer clay on inside the top of his head here. I've made that out of polymer clay over the top of some moulded foil. Whacked that in the oven on 130 degrees Celsius for about 20 minutes, 25 minutes because of how thick it is. And then I've painted it, and I've also done some chalk dusting in the creases just to give it a blended sort of look, so it looks a little bit more real. The other piece that I've made is this piece here. That's polymer clay, and I've just pressed in some wooden cogs. I'm thinking maybe that can go in his face somewhere. I've also made this out of polymer clay. It's sort of like an eye piece. Thinking maybe it can go in there. Okay, so let's begin. Always be careful with these knives. I have had some accidents with these. Sometimes they are very hard to cut these dolls. Okay, now there he is. Just going to see how this is. Oh, it's going to be perfect. Perfect fit inside there. Because there's a big hollow area in there, what I tend to do is I will fill that space with some foil. Just load it up, hot glue it in, and then whatever you're putting in will sit on top like that. So just see how you can do that. Just push it in. But before I do that, actually, I want to cut out a space in his cheek there for that to sit in. So, let's move those things. Tighten up my blade. You can give this a jagged sort of look here also. I'm just going to cut out the space first, and then it's pretty gruesome when you're working on dolls like this when you think about it. It's kind of weird. Okay. So this piece, I'm thinking of putting in there. As you can see, just like that. Of course, we'll fill some of that space. Depends on how you want to put it. I might put it that way. Just seems to fit a bit better. Okay, the eye, I'm going to cut round that. This is the hard part here, because you've cut pieces out, it can be a bit flimsy. It'll start to bend. Just a tip, don't do what I just did just then, cutting towards yourself. That's how I cut through my thumb. You can see that scar there. It wasn't good, because you are using a bit of force to cut these things, and if you slip, it can be pretty bad. Okay, let's have a look. Right, I need to make that a little bit rounder up the top here. Let's look at that now. Needs a little bit more. You want it to fit in quite snugly, so it's getting there. As you can see, that fits in there pretty good. So, just adjust that just a little bit. Okay, now what I'm going to use to stick this eye in, because it's very snug, I might run just a little bit of super glue around here. Okay, super glue. Just gonna put just a bit around his eye. where that's, I've put that in. And I'll just put some on the inside as well. So what I'm going to do, it's got the super glue on there because that's pretty snug, but I'm just going to reinforce it inside. I'm going to be putting some hot glue over that inside there so it can't actually pop out. And I will do the same with this. So that's going to be sat in there. I don't know if you can see it. What I'll do is, first off, I'll set it where I want it, and I will put some hot glue in there around it to hold it where I want it. And then once that's cooled down, I'll be putting some hot glue in here, just in the space there, just to fill it a little bit. And that'll need some paint just to cover that. And then we'll start filling up his head with some foil, hot glue that in, and build that up until this brain will sit where I want it, and also hot glue around that. Now, before I do that, I might just get some jaggy cutting on this. Just makes it look like it's been cut, you know, with something that's not sharp. So I'll just cut like chunks out of that. It gives it a bit of texture to the cut. So it doesn't look just like a straight line. It looks a bit more gross. Once we've painted it. So I don't know if you can see how it's sort of getting jaggy like that. Just cut some pieces out. Slithers. Yeah, so it just looks a bit more interesting to look at. turn this around. Okay, that looks okay. Sometimes afterwards you look at it and you think, oh, I think I might just cut another little piece out just to give it a look. Just depends on how you want it to look. You might do less, you might do more. Okay, that looks pretty good. Let's see. Oh, there's a piece stuck in there. Yeah, I think that looks pretty good once it's painted. It should look okay. Alright. Now you can choose to do that with cutting on the head as well. Sometimes it's good to leave it or just do some little chunks here and there. I think I might leave that actually because it'll look like he's been cut with a saw around his head. Okay, so I'll get my hot glue on and get that heated up, and I'll put that piece in and glue over the top of that eye in there, like I said. Okay, hot glue's all ready to go. So I'm just going to start by, sorry about all the noise, the microphone's picking up everything. Just going to reinforce that in there. Okay, that one's done. Just be careful, if you've used super glue and then the hot glue hits it, it can sometimes let off a fume, and yeah, it's not good, so just be careful of that. I've done that a few times and it's actually got in my eyes, and it stings and it burns and your eyes start to water and then you can't see anything of what you're doing. So, my dog's out there barking. Why? and somebody's walking past. Joys of working in the front room. You hear everything. Okay, so I'm going to put that just there. I'm going to lay him down just like that where I want it. Position it where I want it. Oh, Shelby. I'm just going to start putting some hot glue in there just to hold that in. Okay. Now I've just, I don't know if you can see that. Turn it on an angle maybe. Just put a heap of hot glue around and on top of that piece so it holds it onto the side. Once that's cooled down, I can turn that over and start putting some on the inside of the outside. If that makes sense. Alright, so that's all cooled down inside there now, enough for me to turn it over, and that's what it's looking like in there. So I'm just going to be putting some hot glue inside here. And I'll just run that down in there. While I've got the hot glue out, you can actually just kind of make that look a bit chunky. Do some dripping down if you want. if you do it slow enough, you can actually get it to, I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, so it sort of looks like it's dripping down. I like that sort of look because it makes it look like it's a bit more real. Sometimes if you blow on it, you can get it to harden up a bit as you're doing it. Sorry, I was out of camera. I'll put some more hot glue in there. Okay, so see that. So it sort of looks like that. Sort of get that to dry, not dry, cool down. Get any stringy bits. Once that's cooled down, you can actually pick them off. But if you do it while it's still hot, it'll just keep stringing as you're doing it. So, okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to run some hot glue inside there so I can start putting the foil in. So I'm just going to run some in there. And when you push that all in there too, it's also going to push those pieces that you've put in and hold them steady inside there so they won't move. Let's get some more foil. I like using foil as a filler inside the doll in these parts because it's cheap and it does a good job at filling them, and it doesn't weigh a hell of a lot. And it's mouldable, so that's good. a look how close we're getting. More, I think. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. Let's have another look at this. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to fill that space inside there. Push that down so it's reasonably level, just like that. So that looks pretty good. You can always measure how much that needs to stick up by just putting that top that you've cut off back on. If that fits reasonably well, you know it's getting to where you want it. One more small layer on over that. Give that a good push down. Make sure it's reasonably solid. Some more glue. I'll try and fill up some of the space that's going to be around the outside. You don't want to be just forever putting hot glue in. Okay, that looks pretty good. So now I'll put that in. Put a good piece, a good lot of glue in there and around the sides. Give that a good push down. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. So with my hot glue, I'm just going to put some going around the outside here. And just fill that up. You can put some, drag it up onto the brain to make it look like it's got some blood and stuff coming up. just covers that space that you end up with. And it can add a bit of texture to where you've cut around the outside here. It's very hard to see when you're doing it, but once you've painted it, you get to see all that detail. I like to just randomly rub it all around the area. Like I said, gives it a little bit of texture. Any spaces, just fill them up. Because this stuff will sink down and you do end up with little spaces. So once it's cooled down, just have a bit of a look at it. And see where there's might be holes. That you've missed. Okay, so this side's where we started is pretty cooled down. So I just get the nozzle because it's hot and just give it a bit of a rub around on it because it starts to give it a bit of texture in there where you've melted. You're just melting the glue a little bit with the nozzle. By the time you get round to the other side, that side's alright to do that as well with. And you get to see if there's any gaps that you've got to fill up, any holes. You can also, when you've done that, you can put some, just some little smears of glue over the top of the brain and just so you can paint that. And it looks like his scalp, the top of his head has been pulled off. just adds a bit of realism, I suppose, to it. Now, once that's done, if you want to do some drips down the side here where his head's been taken off, you can. So I might just makes it look a little bit messy. And just smear it. You can smear it around so it doesn't look like it's, you know, it's just drips that have been put there. Okay, so that's going to be good when it's painted, I think. If you want to make around his eye here look a bit messy, like that's been sort of gouged and shoved in his face, you can do that too, which gives it a little bit of realism there. I might do that while I've got the hot glue out. Okay. Well, there he is. Okay guys, so I'm going to leave the video there, and I will make another part to this where we'll start painting it and putting some detail on there. And hope you enjoyed the video. Hope it gives you some ideas, and thanks for watching. Hope to see you catch the next video that I do. I will put a link in the description. I do have a Facebook page if you want to come and have a look at some of the other things that I've made. And it'd be great to get some more subscribers. I want to say thank you to all the people that have subscribed and it's fantastic. I want to be able to do this full time, but at the moment, you know, it's a bit hard. But hopefully one day this will be my full-time job because I love it, and thanks for watching. Bye.